Hello and welcome to another update video about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is still in the same situation. So we have seen quite a bit of volatility. The market has certainly calmed down after the inauguration speech. And really the situation hasn't changed. There has just been some wild volatility and the altcoin sector, it's just mainly moving sideways, right? We haven't really seen any significant breaks of supports as far as I'm aware. There has just been a little bit of volatility and Bitcoin is holding strong. So Bitcoin is still holding above this upper support area or in the upper support area. The 99K level remains really relevant. So I just have two support areas really. That's what it's about. And there are two bullish cases I'm tracking. The first one is here a 1-2 setup. And then this could, from here, the market might move quite directly in a third wave, 4-5 of a larger third. This might take us into this area here between 113,160 to 118,550 before we then get a dip in wave 4 and move higher in wave 5. So this would be like quite a direct path higher in this blue scenario. And yeah, in this case, we could move quite directly towards 125, 130K. But we need to see how high Circle Wave 3 really extends. And there will only be shallow pullbacks in waves 4, probably in this scenario. That would be quite a direct move higher in an impulsive structure. Now, another slightly different scenario, and it will really only differ in details, is the yellow scenario, where all of this was a wave 1. This was an A wave, B wave, and we come down in wave C. And the thing here is the yellow count. The yellow count technically has space all the way down to 92,626 because in the blue count, the upper support area is only there to indicate the levels for a correction of the move up between the 16th of January and the 17th of January. Whereas in the yellow scenario, this entire move is being corrected, which stopped on the 17th of January and started on the 13th of January. So technically it has more space. Doesn't mean it has to use all that space, all right? Because in the lower support, I'm not showing that because they would overlap, but the 38.2 retracement of the lower support area at 99,240 was already reached. So technically speaking, the low could be in. And it doesn't really matter. We don't really need to distinguish between yellow and blue. I'm just showing the yellow count because we have to be aware that there is technically the possibility for the upper support area to break while still being in a bullish scenario, right? And that would be yellow. But because of that overshooting B wave that I'm interpreting here and counting here, the chances that this pullback remains in the upper support area because what do we have here? We have an A wave, we have a high B wave, which was in 3 waves. That's what we talked about in the first video today. And the C wave and the A wave, they usually have a similar length. Not always same length, but technically similar length. And if we track this and I take, the length of that A wave down and, I compare it with that C wave down, then we're dealing here with this blue target area, and it pretty much is exactly what the upper support area is, Fibonacci retracement area. We've already reached it, so there is no need for the price to go down lower. At the same time, though, I haven't got any reversal yet, so this is the area I'm watching for a potential upside reversal. I know people were disappointed that he didn't speak about Bitcoin in the inauguration speech, but yeah, sure they'll deal with that at some point, but that caused probably a little bit of volatility, right? That's all. And fundamental events, as I always say, they typically just generate volatility. So I know a lot of people expected the market to surge after the 20th. Can still happen. We're still bullish, right? But this does not protect Bitcoin from any pullback whatsoever. So there can be pullbacks a little bit lower from here. But overall, I'm still, looking for higher prices. As I said, 99,000 is next support. Below that level, the yellow scenario will become more likely, and the 92,626 level will become key support. But as long as we're holding that level, the idea is that a larger degree wave 4 bottomed in January 2025. So yeah, around the 13th. So only below 92,626. We have to assume that this low will break and the larger fourth wave is still unfolding, which might take us into the low 80K area. But again, until we break support, there is no confirmation whatsoever. And not much more to update, I think. Tomorrow we can take a look at the daily chart again. What I wanted to take a look at briefly is Bitcoin dominance, though, because a lot of you have asked for it. Now, Bitcoin dominance hasn't changed. The micro patterns that are sort of put on here, but they are not meaningful anyway. As I always say, Bitcoin dominance is not a tradable asset. It is not a, one second, it's not a tradable asset. So you can't really rely here on micro patterns. But I gave you, I use it to identify some tendencies. And what we see is a lack of downside follow through, which means the direct path to the downside isn't taken. But remember that I highlighted to you that this decline was not impulsive. So be prepared for changes and changes in structure. I mean, what can we look for now? I think there are two possibilities. So it's either that this move down was a wave 1 and we're now moving up in a wave 2. So like that, yeah. So there is a potential bearish setup here. But this is nothing you can rely on, right? This is you just can't. And why is this a bearish setup? Because we have a decline and a corrective bounce. And we're still below the swing high from the 20th of December. So the idea would be that maybe, just maybe, a substantial top formed here in November. I mean, that's currently the thesis. It's not high confidence because there's been a lack of downside follow through, but we can work with that. There was a resistance area to which not the price, but the value reacted. But the decline isn't impulsive. So it's not like we have a real impulse down in the corrective bounce. This is corrective move down, corrective bounce. So really balanced probabilities. I would also not be surprised if this B wave, which we have here on the 20th of December, is still unfolding. But hey, this is not reliable, and this is really only on the micro level. So that means once we get a break below the last low around 57%, that would be the next signal that a local top has formed, and we can watch if the Bitcoin dominance value declines. As you can see, we have seen this long uptrend. This was the most notable decline in a long time, and therefore we take the position that the top could be in early days. But of course, when the top is in, we have the first decline that needs to be confirmed in the next bounce, because if this bounce isn't forming a lower high, then the uptrend is still unfolding. So it's just the first time that we're now tracking, since this uptrend has really begun, that there's a possible top in place. That would be good for altcoins, but we need a bit more downside follow through. So that's the update about Bitcoin. Hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then please check out the channel membership. Also, make sure that you follow us on Instagram and Twitter for additional content. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.